Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Big Blue Power Hour. I'm with Evan. What's up, Evan? You all ready for the season? We got 1 week to go.
I'm here. I'm here. I don't know, man. Every time I'm excited for the season, I'm excited that football is back. Of course, my number one sport, man. I love it. But am I happy about the predicament? I don't know. I feel a little bit better today. We re-signed Adoree Jackson.
Yeah,
Literally just signed him about maybe an hour ago.
the cornerback is probably where they need help the most. So I think it's
Um,
a smart signing if Flott fails.
yeah, and I also want to go back to just to reiterate. I probably we'll get into who else I think we should pick up later. But didn't really look great the last game. I know we said we're
That's
not gonna really talk about
expected,
the
though.
Jets game, but then again, Jets, man, they got so much depth on the defensive side that just
Yeah,
bums out. Like they're the only team I've known that has one, two, and probably third stringers that could be starters.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Their defensive depth is good. Definitely, it's definitely better than ours, and I didn't expect them to look great at all. DeVito got sacked. It was like it was. It's like it was last year all over again with DeVito. He got sacked like a bunch of times, but I didn't expect him to play well. You had a couple people that did well, but a lot of it was the guys on the bubble, and then some of the second string guys. But I expect him to look great, being the last preseason game, to be honest. So you don't really know what to expect, but he
question: I
definitely
seen
good.
is Bellinger on the roster or no?
Yes,
I thought so. Okay. Because I don't remember if I saw his name or not. I know Lawrence Kager came back on the practice squad.
yeah, he came back on the practice squad, so that makes sense. It's Theo Johnson Bellinger's first. Theo Johnson Manhurts are your
Yeah,
tight
man hurts.
ends.
That's what I'm saying. I've seen they had three tight ends. I'm like, and then
And then they
Kager's coming
have
back on practice.
Jacob Johnson, who's like a fullback tight end, kind of like in the middle. Um,
Gotcha.
but yeah, they're going with three tight ends. I see that Bryce Ford Wheaton made it,
Surprising.
which is surprising. You really see a lot of him. Oshetsky made it because he's a special teams guy, even though he's been hurt. Um, obviously Hyatt made it, but
Your guy
the starting
Dante
offense
Johnson, he
looks.
made it.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson made it, even though he's hurt.
He I put
Uh,
on IR.
Short-term IR. He can come back after 4 games.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Paul? Says, what's up, gentlemen? Mr. Family. What's up, Paul? What's going on? Hope all is well.
Hope everything's
Hope you're
well.
doing
Paul will
good.
be taking some leave of absence with us.
Yeah,
But
Paul will be back before he knows it. I know he's chomping at the bit, but he just
of course, man. He should be trust me,
oh
after week one with the Cowboys, he'll be on here foaming at the mouth, cursing Jerry Jones when they lose to the Browns.
so but the starting offense obviously is Daniel Jones, Singletary, Neighbors, Wendell Robinson, Slayton. And I think Slayton and Hyatt will kind of split time. Like they'll be both on the field a bunch because you can go four wide and have Slayton out there. Um, Bellinger, Jacob Johnson, Thomas, Runyon, Michael Schmitz, Van Roten, and Illuminar. So three new guys on the offensive line from last year. So
I like the depth behind them too. The depth is really good behind them.
I do like the depth. I like Schlotman's on IR, but I don't know if it's long term. Stinney, I like him as depth. But they have no left guard depth. But Azudu can play left guard if he had to step in for Runyon. Um, they have Evan Yellison as a second tackle behind Illuminor. But I think Illuminor is going to do a much better job. It seems like the offensive line is going to be better, a lot better than they were last year. The question is, can Jones do it? Then your backups are Drew Lock, DeVito will be your emergency guy when Drew Lock is healthy. Tyrone Tracy Jr. is the second running back, and Eric Ray. I think they'll split time, both of them. I think
I thought
it'll.
I saw Tyrone Tracy as the third back.
Well, they have him listed second, but Gray, Tracy, I think they're very similar.
Okay.
Um, I think they're going to use Gray and Tracy. It depends on what depth chart you look at. Some of them have Tracy as the third, but I think Tracy Jr. I think they like what they saw, but you're going to use Gray and Tracy Jr. It's going to be by committee. It's not going to be, one feature
I
back
mean,
he
I
was.
know Tyrone Tracy's coming out with this. He had a great first year as a running back. He only has really one running back
And no
season
wear
under
and
him.
tear. He could catch out of the backfield, and I like
Yeah,
what I saw from him. And he
but
had an
Eric
injury
Gray
scare,
coming
but
from
I like him.
Oklahoma, Big 12 team, usually is an
Yeah,
air
Gray.
raid, and when we talk about pretty much them going into the SEC, the two big names coming out of that draft were Bijan Robinson and Eric Gray for running back.
Yeah,
So I was
I like
really
Eric Gray.
happy. And getting him in the fifth or sixth round, I like the pick. Like I said, I think we should be able to. He should be able to carry the load. I don't see us as a one running. We're not tied to Saquon anymore. We don't need to give him
No.
25 touches a game.
Yeah, it's going to be by committee. I think Singletary start as the starter because he has the most experience. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what Tracy Jr. and Gray, if one of them could, step into that role. I like Tracy Jr. because of his size.
I can see
But
it being like a 12 carry, like 14 carries, Singletary 7 and 7 for
yeah,
each other.
something like that. I mean, I don't know how Dabo's going to call this offense. I don't know how they're going to split. It's going to be like 60, 40 pass, 50-50. I assume they're going to pass more than run. I think you're
It
going to
depends
run
how
to
the
stay
offensive line
balanced.
holds up. I think to
Yeah,
take the pressure off Danny, if the offensive line's holding up better than it usually does, you know, we don't need a spectacular running back to get it done. But if you can get third and 2 is better than third and 8.
yeah,
And what I've learned last year is when they did try to rely on Jones too much, the defense clambers to those little duck passes 5 in.
yeah. Like the thing about it is like you don't want to be predictable. And with Dable calling plays, it's a little different. He's the one that's going to be calling the plays. So I'm very interested to see how he calls the plays, and how he implements that. So, but
Yeah,
like
I
like I
agree. Like I
said,
said,
go ahead.
I agree. Taking them for a walk. Sorry, my dog busted in my room. Get out, dog.
But yeah, the offensive line just looks better. The offense just looks like it's going to be better on paper at least. And adding someone like Neighbors, I like Theo Johnson. I'm interested to see if he's going to step into a bigger role because he's like 6'6". He's athletic, and I think that was a good pick also. And
Yeah, but he's not a. Like I was seeing through. They're gonna run him like they ran at Penn State. What he proved at Penn State was he's a very good red zone threat, down the field threat in the middle of the field, but he's not an everyday down back. And
yeah,
I think Bellinger taking that off of him, I think that's going to alleviate some pressure. But I think the tight ends, besides David, are going to be his number one threat.
yeah,
Because when you have that much speed with Slayton, with Hyatt, with Wandale Robinson's cutting
could be
ability,
open a lot.
they're going to be open a lot more, which sets them up for like a Jason Witten, Romo kind of thing, where they're going to be Jones' security blanket.
Yeah, I think that you got to pick your poison. It looks like anyway. With Wandale Robinson and Neighbors. Um, I don't want him to force the ball Neighbors to be like, but Neighbors is your go-to guy, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Your offensive line does have to hold up. I think I like what they've done with the offensive line with the little bit of money they had, but if you went and signed McKinney and signed Barkley, you're not upgrading, you're not improving your offensive line. So I think that was really
No,
the thing Shane had to really focus on was if you don't fix the offensive line, it's not really going to make much of a difference. You can get a
I kind of
weapon,
seen if you
but not have an offensive line.
I seen what Josh Jacobs was saying earlier, and he was like, the Chiefs paraded hard for me. He goes, but I just couldn't do it because I hate them. He goes, after playing for that with them against them so long, he goes, I couldn't get over my hatred for him as a Raider. And I'm like, and not even Giants fans were like, hey, that ain't Saquon's fucking mentality. Like it wasn't even a Giants fan saying that, but it kind of like rung true. I'm like, if you play for a team, obviously they become your team. Like that's your family. You know
Yeah,
the people well, the fans well, the city well. Like, I can't see, Troy Aikman ever being like, oh, I can't stand the Cowboys. I'm a Chiefs fan. I can't see that. So, like, I can't have him being like, oh, yeah, Eagles are great. They're a fantastic franchise. Like, I love them. They're good people. No, you're supposed to hate them. You're a legend. And so, like, I understand, like, I understand where that comes from. But, like, I get it if you play for both or but to sign with a rival, that just backs up what I've been saying this entire time.
I just hate
That,
those
like,
at Eagle.
he did that shit to be perfectly spiteful. So I'm like, you know what?
I think maybe. I mean, obviously he went for the money, but out of all the teams you can go to, you know,
Yeah. But like I said, I'm looking forward to this week. Like I said, I think we win. I think we're voting against 8-2 that we're gonna lose, and they don't think anybody's gonna score over 20 points. I've only seen about 2 or 3 scores over 20, and none of them had us winning over 20. So I want to see. I want to see. You know, I'd be surprised if they came out and scored 35 again. I wouldn't care.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I would think that would look good enough. And what happens if Jones comes out, throws for 3? He's probably going to rush for 1. That's usually part of his repertoire. But or there's 2 running touchdowns. What are you going to say about this offense then?
it's week 1,
Yeah,
but
right.
it would be better than probably any game they played if they could do that against Minnesota, who does have a pass rush, but I don't think their defense is going to be great. I would take 28, 24 points. I'd be satisfied with if their defense is going to play solid. I don't expect it to be like that, but if they scored 35, it would be nice. But it's only week 1. I'd like to see how they do versus the Browns defense or someone, because their defense is good. That's a different test. But we'll talk about that in the second half after talking about the roster. But I'm very interested to see how this offense does with the players they add on the offense, with Neighbors, with Dable calling plays, and how's the offensive line going to do. You're not going to be focused on Barkley, which I like. So I like the offensive roster. I think it's pretty talented.
I think a lot more people are coming around to that. Barkley was the center point of the offense, but now we don't know what's going to be center point of the offense. Is it
Probably
going to be
Neighbors.
receivers? Is it going to be run the ball down your throat? Because we do have 3 capable running backs.
If their offensive line could perform well and they could establish that, like I would like them to establish a run and throw off of it. And because with Neighbors, they expect them to throw. Teams are going to be looking for you going to Neighbors,
And
right? They're going to be keying on that.
one thing I like about Eric Gray and I like about Tyrone Tracy is that Oklahoma runs the spread offense, so they're always running out of the shotgun. That's
Yeah.
something that Saquon never looked great doing. He always was a tailback more than a pistol or option kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was meant for that kind of offense, which I don't like him running out of the, he didn't really have a good burst of speed.
I mean, running out of the shotgun, I hate
Running out
that.
of the shotgun, yeah.
I never liked that. Like with him next to Jones, I never liked that formation. I don't think it
Yeah.
really works for the way Barkley is. To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't think it works. I'd rather have a single back, but when you don't have the offensive line to even run block well, overall, you're going to struggle regardless of the offense that you're running. But
Right.
that's the
So
difference. Dable
we have
calling
now 2
plays.
backs that I think can do it really well. Devin Singletary, he can do both. He's more of a scat back also.
Yeah,
So I don't mind it. Like I said, I don't mind it at all. I feel it's going to be a little bit better, especially with this. Its offense is still kind of weak, but if it's say top teams in the league, we're gonna be a lot better than we were last year. Like you
yeah,
gotta remember, there's a lot of teams down the stretch that we beat that we shouldn't have.
yeah. And it's games you
And
could have had that you probably shouldn't have lost.
yeah, and if you look at everybody on the list, they're like, well, the Giants are a really good structured team. They like Dayball. They like Shane, kind of with the Barkley thing. They his stock has gone down, which I don't know how
It
it
is what
could.
it is. It is what it is. I mean, we're winning with Barkley anyway. If they
Yeah,
had more cap space to do something and their offensive line was good, then you could do something different. But as bad as the offensive line was, you had no choice but to address that first. That's just
yeah,
how
and
it
then
had to be, unfortunately.
I don't think he wanted to lose McKinney either. I don't think that's somebody you would want
No,
to
of
lose.
course not.
But then again, Packers went all in on him. They loved McKinney. Like
Exactly. They were
Eagles
going to
just
offer him the
they're
most
like,
money. They
listen, we
couldn't
have
meet
to
it.
take the pressure. Like
Hmm.
the Eagles going for Barkley just tells me one thing: they don't believe in Jalen Hurts, and I believe that because how do you have
Maybe.
3 good receiving targets and you go out and grab a running back? That just
Uh,
proves that you don't believe in them.
or they just want something to put them over the top.
But if you have 3 good receiving targets, you have AJ Brown, you have Devonta Smith, and then you have Dallas Goddard. Those 3 good receivers right there, and you can't do nothing with it. Like, yeah, you
But it
went
makes
10. I get it, and like I get it. They're still a stacked team, and then your secondary needs help. The biggest thing for you would not be going and grabbing a running back.
No, I agree with that. That's not all they did, but to me, it makes sense for them. It makes their offense more prolific. I think they did it because they thought it was going to think it's going to put them over the top. That's why I think. I don't think it has anything to do with Hurts necessarily. Uh, but we'll see. I think the Eagles will be good. They're loaded. So, but he's an Eagle now, and there's nothing we can do about it. And we'll see how it goes when we first play them. That's going to be a big story when we first play the Eagles later in the season. So, unfortunately,
And
that's the
first
way it
game's
is.
back at the Meadowlands too.
Yeah. So, but we'll worry about that, later on. We'll see where they're at by then.
So all right,
You
so
don't really
there was
know.
all around cut day was about 2 days ago. So
Yep.
what cuts piqued your interest and that you would like here?
What do you mean? Like they made them already?
No, I'm talking about from other teams that you would like.
Oh, I haven't even looked at they're not going to sign anybody else. They would have. They signed a couple of guys and that's it. Anthony Johnson Jr. Um, uh, they only signed like a couple of guys really, and like I said, I don't really know, to be honest. I don't think they're going to be making much changes from here to week 1. To be honest, I think they're done.
I think there's still room for improvement, especially with the back end of the. I thought Caleb Farley, that was really surprising to me. Because that Titans defense, I think he would come in and play pretty well considering we have their coordinator.
Yeah,
He'd be familiar with the defense and know how to play it. He had a little bit of a down year last year, but he is a consensus first round pick that has somewhat still talent.
yeah.
We know they're in a rebuild mode over there in Tennessee. I wouldn't mind that. Especially at our depth right now, even with Adoree Jackson, I wouldn't mind
Cornerback.
grabbing him.
Yeah,
I
if they
wouldn't mind.
can.
Yeah, veteran minimum, just give him a year, just to fill that hole for right now. Like then you have, Banks, Dory Jackson, and Caleb Farley. Like it's a pretty, it's not bad.
It'd be better than what it was. Because I think
And
they're very concerned about Flott on the other
hate
side.
me for it, but the backup from Chicago, Rippin.
Yeah,
Uh, I like him, dude. I thought he played very well, especially when Fields left last year. Well, when he was out last year, he played 3, 4 good games. He didn't win them all, but he played very well. Watching him in preseason, he can be a starting quarterback in this league. I a little bit more training. I put him a little bit above DeVito,
if they want to get
and
rid of DeVito.
yeah, and if they continue to, if you say Drew Lock goes out for the year, definitely a second stringer to put in. I think that's
Yeah,
eyes
if he if
for
he
him.
if he went down for the year, you would definitely sign someone else. But for now, I
Yeah.
think they're just going to leave it as is, and you hope Jones don't get hurt. Because if he gets hurt again, they're screwed. They'll have to make some drastic move. But for now, I think they're just going to leave it the way it is. Um, hopefully you don't want any of your backups to play. You don't want DeVito or Drew Lock playing. If you're a Giants fan and they're off, you don't want to see them on the field. So, but that's the offense. Like the offense, like I said, I like the offense. I like the offensive line. I love that they got neighbors. Uh, they have good depth. So we'll see if the offense does what it should. You know. So, but now we're gonna move to the defense. I like that Chapman made it.
Oh, we knew that was happening. He didn't
Elijah
dress for the
Chapman,
last
like
one.
I think he's gonna be in the rotation. You got Burns, Lawrence, Roche, and then Basham behind Burns, Jordan Riley, Chapman, and DJ Davidson. And that's your defensive line. I think that's.
Aziz made the team surprisingly.
I'm not surprised Aziz made it, uh, because you have Carter Coughlin, who's not better than he is. Um, Matthew Adams is on IR. So it's Ojulari, Okirike, McFadden, and Thibodeau. They really have no one on that other side
You
depth
have
wise.
Thibodeau as a line. They have Thibodeau as a linebacker.
He'll be linebacker or defensive end, depending on the defense they play. If they play a
Okay.
4-3, he'll have his hand in the ground. So I'm not surprised Ojulari made it, but is he going to stay healthy? I really don't know. Carter Coughlin's your backup. You got Curtis Bolton. Muasau made it. I think when Deontay Johnson comes back, you'll see him in a rotation with McFadden. I think you'll see him on the field. Um, but that spot that Cordell Flott's the second corner, Banks is the first corner, Phillips is your nickelback, and Pinnock and Belton are your safeties. Lott is the weak point there, big time.
I think Adoree takes the number one spot. I really
Adoree
do.
Jackson, I think Adoree Jackson played for Bowen too.
Mm-hmm.
I
In Tennessee.
think maybe his first year there, first or second, like at some point he played there. So I think that's another reason they signed Adoree Jackson, because maybe he's familiar with him. That makes a lot of sense to me. And Jackson's better than Flott is, unless Flott plays really well. But Jackson, I suspect, will be that second cornerback again, with Flott being your backup.
Yeah,
Uh,
I had a lot more. I guess I had a lot more like intrigue with Flott coming from LSU because
yeah,
he came out that class of having to deal with you know Chase and all them guys, Justin Jefferson, all them. He came from blocking them guys, so I thought maybe he would have experience dealing with that. Terrence Marshall,
tough.
another one.
It's a tough transition sometimes. Sometimes a cornerback is a
Yeah.
tough position to play, and sometimes transition to the NFL just doesn't work well. Or I'm interested to see if he could do better in Bowen's defense. But you would suspect that Jackson will start over him. Uh, at some point, I would imagine that, unless I know Adoree Jackson's not what he was, but I think he's better than Flott is. And Tyler Newbern's your second safety. I think they'll rotate him in. Anthony Johnson Jr. behind Pinnock. Trey Elkins the third, Isaiah Simmons, and then McLeod are the nickelbacks for the backups.
Yeah.
Drew Phillips, I think, is going to be good.
Very surprising. He had a really good preseason.
I like him because he's
This
physical.
I like that he gets his hands in and messes with the ball.
Yeah.
He's not a wrap, like if they catch it, wrap it up. He's the one that will put his hand over the shoulder and try to break up that hands and make the ball loose. And that's really what you want. That's what I was hoping Aaron Robinson would be. Well, because of his length, he has very lanky arms. I was hoping he would be that pass breakup more than an interception guy.
Yeah.
But he's working out pretty much. But
But yeah,
going
go ahead. No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
going into week one, this is at home, right?
I think so. Yes.
So big game coming home. The biggest thing is get Danny's confidence up because right now he
Yes.
doesn't seem confident at all.
Well, he hasn't played in a while either. He's played a half of football basically
Yep.
since he tore his ACL. So that makes sense. You want to knock some rust off. You want to get him comfortable. You want to get him in the rhythm. I like that they have a whole week to prepare. That's probably what they're going to be doing. They're try to get Jones in a rhythm. But talking about, I just want to talk about the defense for a second. If they could force turnovers like they did last year, they were like second, I think, in the NFL in forced turnovers. If they could average 20 something points a game and force turnovers like they did, that's a good sign. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think their pass rush is going to be better with Burns. I think it's going to be much better.
I don't think these teams are going to have more than 3 seconds to breathe. Just with
Yeah.
that pass rush. Because not only we don't have just three guys, we have about five guys that we can send at one time.
Well, yeah.
And
Thibodeau, even McFadden, Ojolari, Lawrence, and Burns, and Simmons on some
yeah,
plays. Some stuff. I mean,
the
Chapman,
best
I'm
thing to
interested
do
to see
is
how
to
he
send
does.
in, Elijah Chapman too. He's no slouch, but send in Chapman, Thibodeau, Burns, and Dex. You said those four in, but you keep Akira K on one side and Isaiah Simmons on the other. Anything that goes in those flats, they run. That's a very good pick-off options because they're going to always be able to check down. Like if
Yeah.
you're going to need to face a top 5 O line to stop that pass rush for more than 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I like. I would like to see a little more production from Thibodeau. I think he had a good season last year, but I would see just a little bit more. From Burns, I want to see double-digit sacks at minimum.
Mm.
But the thing about Burns is he's not good just versus the pass; he's good versus the run also.
I don't mind if Thibodeau say he went from 12 sacks to 9, but he had more pressures.
Yeah, pressures are
Then he
key. Get pressures. That's good.
Yeah, because it's gonna have to balance. Either he's gonna have 60, 70 pressures, and Burns has double digits, or Burns is gonna have a crazy amount of pressures and he'll have double digit sacks.
Yeah.
If they both have it, great. But the realistic of it is that only one of them was gonna have it. And you can account for Aziz having like 3 or 4. Chapman's going to get in there, so I'm guessing he have 3 or 4. Dex had 7 last year or
Yeah, Dex is
6.
going to be a force, man. Dexter Lawrence is awesome. And to add
He,
Burns, like next to him, they actually have Burns in this depth chart as the left defensive end, and Ojolari and Thibodeau are the outside linebackers if you're playing the 3-4. And I think I want Burns' hand in the ground
yeah,
more than standing up.
he comes off that edge so quick that he's this quarterback's going to have to go out. They're going to have to get out, especially if you have a non-mobile quarterback. Like Hurts might give you a little trouble. Jane Daniels a little bit big, but he might give you a little trouble. But Dak's been slow since his ankle break, so I wouldn't really worry about him too much.
Yeah.
But they have receivers that can get out quick and get. That's the only thing that's going to kill them. I think that middle part of the field is where they're going to struggle with. Even though their linebacker core is one of the best, it's one of the best for short yardage situation. They're not going to be able to keep up with slot receivers.
No. Hopefully, Drew Phillips would, be that nickel back for you, and cover guys like that. Over the middle has been the Giants' issue, but I do like their linebacking core. If you went to
I
a
think
4-3,
they're really
you'd
going to
have
be. They're going to play
Thibodeau on
well
the
with.
end.
They're going to play really well with man to man. Man to man is going to be their thing because Newman's going to be able to cover somebody. I trust in his ability. And having Phillips over the top and having Banks over the top, whatever they need to do, they're going to be able to, they're going to give it in just enough time for them to make smart plays on the ball, but also that defensive line is going to feed. It's going to eat. It's going to eat a lot.
Yeah, and that's what I'm excited for. That's why adding Burns is such a dynamic difference.
Mm-hmm.
and we won't get hung out to dry, hopefully, because Wake Martindale last year would blitz all the time. We get killed. He'd blitz, it'd be someone wide open. Like blitz too much. Bowen doesn't blitz as much. You want your guys to get to the quarterback without having to blitz. That's what
Mhm.
made the 11 so great. We didn't necessarily have to blitz. You need Thibodeau and Burns and Lawrence to get the pressure. And if Ojolari could stay healthy, he's another guy that could pressure the quarterback if he stays healthy.
He's
Was
for him, especially with his hamstring problem. I
Yeah,
wouldn't mind putting him more on like a QB spy or screen bubble route kind of thing. If they're getting so much pressure, just those three alone or four if Chapman's there, if they're getting so much pressure, then what you can do is have him wait, and if that QB escapes that pocket, he hunts him down
yeah,
because that's going to add another layer of there is no escape from this offensive line or defensive line.
yeah. Like that's what I said. Like I think Shane has done a pretty good job with this roster. I'm much happier with it now. I'd say my concerns are Flott, obviously. I'm interested to see how Drew Phillips adjusts. Ojolari staying healthy. I'm very excited for Chapman, and I can't wait to see Burns because you know what you're going to get from Thibodeau and Lawrence and all these other guys. Um, and we'll see how much Newman did get playing time. I think sometimes you'll have three safeties on the field, and Newman will be that extra safety in certain
Mm.
situations, in certain ways. Because what I like about Newman is he's a ball hawk, but he can also stop the run, get some pressure. You're going to use these guys like that. So I think Shane's done a good job. You dress the offensive line with the roster, you dress the weapon, got another pass rusher. I think they did well with Newman and Phillips drafting them. I think that's excellent. Um, I'm pretty satisfied with the way the roster is. Now we have to see it play out. Is it going
Yeah.
to play out? Is the offense going to play out? Is DJ going to step it up? Is their offensive line going to protect? And it seems like it will. But let's see how it's going to be week one versus the Vikings. Is there anything else you want to say about the roster? I'm not. I thought that Hodgins would stay around, but he's on the practice squad, which makes sense. They have their wide receiver depth is solid this year. I think much better than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it's also I'm surprised Bryce Ford Wheaton made it because I really didn't
Yeah,
see much of him. So how much has he improved? Because
he must have
we're not
improved
going to say
somewhat
for
if
the
they're going
last
to
20
keep him
years.
over Hodgins. He's right behind Slayton on this depth chart. I'd say Hyatt would come in if Slayton wasn't got hurt, and
Yeah.
then you'd have Bryce Ford Wheaton. That would be your guy you would rotate in. So I'm interested to see how much they use Bryce Ford Wheaton. You could have certain formations given up to. He's a big body. He's like 6'6", I think.
Mm-hmm.
But you did see a lot from him. But another cut I'm surprised is Allen Robinson. I thought Allen Robinson would make it.
He's been hurt a lot.
Yeah, maybe they know something we don't. But I thought he would make it. That I honestly did. But
Yeah,
that's
but
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
yep.
think there'll be much of him being a difference maker on this. I had hopes for him. I really did, but something we got to
Yeah,
move on with.
Gunnar
You know?
Olszewski will be back when he gets hurt. He's special teams. He's a good special teams guy. So I think that's why they kept him.
He's the
Isaiah
returner,
McKenzie.
right?
Yeah, you got McKenzie on IR. I don't know if it's permanent. Blotman's
Isaiah
on
McKenzie.
IR at the moment. Deontay Johnson's on IR for 4 weeks. So I think after week 4 he can come back if he's ready.
What's his injury again?
I I think it's ankle injury.
Gotcha.
Schlotman, his leg. Injured reserve list for Schlotman. Let's see, McKenzie, injured reserve. So these guys will come back. That's why they kept it. McKenzie, Chase Cota. I haven't seen much of him. He's a third wide receiver. Kajuste, backup left tackle. Jake Kubas, a rookie. Stinney's your backup right guard.
Give me 1 second.
Azudu, Evan Neal. So, like I said, I really like what they've done the roster. Obviously, Gano will be your starting kicker. They have Slayton as the punt returner, kick returner. And Wendell Robinson's behind him. So Slayton, if Olszewski's not ready to play, Slayton will play that kickoff return spot. So, like I said, it's all about the team's roster coming to fruition. How their offense gels, how Neighbors is going to gel. But I really like what they've done with the roster. I think Shane's done a good job. I know people want instant results, but you're not necessarily going to get instant results. So that's just the way it is in the NFL. Sometimes you have to wait and retool your roster with the mess Gettleman left us in the cap. Also roster wise, depth wise, it looks like on paper and from what we've seen from some of the stars, especially the offensive line, that they've fixed some issues that they've had. So now we're just going to do a short look ahead to week 1. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings. Got to have a good week of practice. Excited for the season to open on Thursday night. But yeah, the Minnesota Vikings with Sam Darnold, it looks like they might be able to get a win here. Week 1 for the first time in a while. The Giants typically have not won on week 1 or done well in week 1, especially last year. We don't want a repeat of that. At least we're not playing the Cowboys or something like that. Otherwise, I'd probably be more concerned. But you're going to get the Minnesota Vikings. They do have some weapons, so it's a good early test for the secondary. You want to see how Flop plays. You want to, that secondary is probably the biggest concern on defense. I would say. I'd say the linebackers up front, they're in a much better position. You know what you're going to get with that. So, we'll see if they make more signings. I suspect they're not going to, but you always want to look for more talent, obviously. Especially some of the, maybe another linebacker they need. Maybe another cornerback. I have a feeling that Dory Jackson will be starting over Flott. But Flott has been here longer and learned the defense more. But there is some familiarity with Dory Jackson with Bowen. And I'm also very interested to see how Bowen, uses, the players we have on defense and, see how they are with his scheme. I suspect that it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for some of these players, especially like Phillips. Some people just learning the defense. I do like that they're not going to be blitzing as much, which won't leave their defense exposed. That was probably a big issue they had last year. Good in the turnover department, but when you blitz too much and you're too aggressive, it doesn't really work out for you. So let's wait for Evan to come back here. But yeah, like I said, I'm very excited for the season. It's about time. It's been a long wait. Obviously, everyone's focused on the offensive line, Daniel Jones. Some Giant fans hate him. Some, think it's other reasons. Some fans are done with him. But, it's either going to be a good season for him or he's going to not be a Giant next year. We're going to start all over at the quarterback position. But you can't only worry about the quarterback. The quarterback is not what wins you games only. You need consistent play from your quarterback, but you need consistent play from your offensive line, from your weapons and stuff like that. What's up, Evan? Welcome back.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But yeah, consistent quarterback play is key to this offense because if not, it all goes
Would
to
be nice.
shit.
It would be nice. I don't want to see DeVito or Drew Lock in there, like, because if Jones gets hurt, like, or you know, let's hope he doesn't have to be benched because the Giants' offense was
Dude, we will
brutal
not hear
last
them.
year.
And it's already been started because of the game last
Yep,
night.
yep.
Oh, Shador Sanders, the first number 1 overall pick for the Giants.
I don't think they're gonna have a number 1 pick. No, I really don't think that's gonna happen. To be honest, I don't think they're gonna be that bad. They're if their offensive line plays better than than they were last year, you have your neighbors comes through, you have consistency, you stay healthy. Now, I would say the defense was the problem necessarily because they forced a lot of turnovers. But when you can't score points, you keep putting your defense on the field, it's not going to work out well for you. And it was just such a disaster. Like I've never seen an offensive line that bad for my team or a team like ever in my lifetime.
Jones was sacked 80 times in like 6 games.
Like it's
It's absurd. Like it was a record for like
crazy.
the first 6 games. I think it was like 80 something sacks. I'm like,
It was crazy. He got hit like so much. Like he got destroyed week 1. Like
and,
like just beat
and that's
up.
what I'm saying. Like you give a reason why some person, like I say his name, you give a reason to some person that they had a bad offensive line, but you don't give it to the rest of the offense. Nobody else gets that treatment but one person.
Yeah, I know. But it always goes back. That's the way the NFL is. It's always about the quarterback, the quarterback. People are focused on that, obviously, and I totally get it. It's his what 6th year. You think by now, but I have to take into account how 2 years ago they had no weapons and went to the playoffs. Like
Isaiah Hodgins
this,
was their weapon midway through the season.
yeah, like they had Hodgins. Like it's such a difference. Like what was it? Slayton, Hodgins, what's his name? He
Sterling Shepard.
fumbled Shepard and he fumbled twice. Richie James.
Yeah.
I think you had Shepard, Slayton, Robinson tore his ACL, I think, in the Dallas game. Um, After that, you signed Hodgins. Now it's Neighbors, Robinson, Slayton, Hyatt, Oshesky, Bryce Ford Wheaton, Isaiah McKenzie, and Chase Cota. Slayton, Robinson, Neighbors, and Hyatt. That's a solid receiving core if you have 4 in the field.
Yeah.
I like it.
And it's good to see Slayton give him some love too, man. He's always been
He's been the most
the
consistent receiver on the Giants every year.
yeah.
I think if Slayton was on a better team, had a better quarterback, he could get 1,000 yards. He's got 700 something. On a bad offense.
Yeah.
So I like Slayton. I like Slayton took a pay cut. He didn't play as much early in the season. Remember last year, the first 4 weeks or so, he wasn't really on the field. But I like Darius Slayton. I think he's a good number 3. I think he's solid. Wendell Robinson is your number 2. Neighbors is your number 1. I think that's a good, and Bellinger and Theo Johnson. Now, your offensive line, you need Schmitz. I need Jock Michael Schmitz to play better, have a better season than he did last year. He definitely struggled last year. Illuminor, I'm not worried about. I think he'll do fine. I think Thomas will do fine. I think Runyon will do fine. And Van Roten, I think, like I said, I think the offensive line will be much better than it was last year.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I'm pleased about the most. You got your weapon, and it seems like you improved your offensive line and your offensive line depth at the same time. Let's hope Evan Neal doesn't need to see the field because of injury or something like that. But if they could have Evan Neal improve and play well, I would continue to work with him and see if he can improve, as a backup.
Yeah, like I said, Evan Neal. I think it's good to have him as a backup one right now, just because of Andrew Thomas's history at left tackle and his injuries.
Yep.
Especially last year, him playing the Cowboys game, getting hurt the first drive.
He was hurt
It's
most of
been
the
a
season.
struggle for him. When he's on, he's the best, and I'll put
Yeah.
that. He's the best left tackle in the game.
Yeah. When
But
he's
it's
on.
just I don't mind him. I don't mind Evan Neal coming in for left tackle because I think it's what he played his whole career at Alabama was left tackle.
Depends on if the coaching staff trust him. If I really don't know, but I think it makes sense to
With
start
I
Aluminor.
wanted to ask you this with the Adoree Jackson pickup now because it just
Hmm.
really popped in my head when we signed him. Do you still think they go after J.C. Horn?
I would. If
Fair
you could
enough.
get a reasonable deal somehow, and any way you could improve the roster, especially the secondary, Dory Jackson's getting older. I don't see why not. But it depends on what you're giving up. You know, you know, what assets you're going to give up. Like, what are you going to give up for it? But I wouldn't object to it. But I think they're gonna go with Jackson and Flott and see how it goes. And then if they have to make a move, do something different, then they will. But I wouldn't mind anything to improve that other cornerback position. I'm for because Jackson's a little older now.
Mm-hmm.
So so
I mean, he has 4 seasons with the Giants. This will
yes,
be his 4th season with the Giants, so he's much of the Giant as he was the Titan. So I'm pretty happy with that.
I like Adoree Jackson. I don't think Adoree Jackson's a bad cornerback at all. He's not Banks is your number one, but as a second cornerback, I think it's a good move. I think it makes sense. Familiar with Bowen, he's familiar with the organization. He's been here, so I think it makes sense to bring him in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Like I said, only time can tell with this team.
Yeah,
Dan, you'll say it the best. Me and you ain't, the pom pom guys. We're gonna be up
I
there,
don't know
guys.
what they're gonna be.
We
Could
are the most undecided team in the league right now. We don't know what we can be. The potential is there, but then like the ceilings are just not high enough to where I think, are we going to Super Bowl this year? No.
don't know, but if we could sniff the playoffs or get close, that's a
But is that
start.
good
If we
enough? Because they're
can,
going to get rid of Jones. Like anything less than an
it
NFC
depends on how
Championship game.
Jones' season goes. If Jones has a better season than he had in 2022, he plays consistent. But I think you need to see like 30 touchdowns or more from him for him to stay. He can't have like 20. He's got to have at least 20, 26 or more touchdowns and over 4,000 yards with these
Mm-hmm.
weapons. I think that's
So
what you want, but is that going to happen? I really don't know.
I want him to hit 30 touchdowns. Like for me to
It
keep him
would be
this year,
nice.
he's got a NFC Championship game, and he's got to have good numbers. I don't care if he's around 12 picks. Like, but
That's not bad.
be
That's not
above
bad.
30.
I would like to see him be more aggressive, to be honest,
Yes, I
because
want to see that
he was
dink.
gun shy last year, and before he
Like
got hurt.
Eli, when people are like, well, Eli, he was pretty bad. I'm like, Eli was a gunslinger. That's
Eli
what
would sling it.
gunslingers do.
Like if he saw a chance in an opening, he would be aggressive and throw downfield.
Exactly.
That's what I like about it. He wasn't perfect, but he was more aggressive.
And I tell people
And
this, I'm like, right now, that's the dying breed of the NFL is the gunslinger. Everybody wants perfection. They want tight,
I'd say
cutting the
Mahomes
balls.
is like that because
Yeah,
he
well, I think
throws. Because
he's probably the best.
I'd say he's like that. He
I
could
think
do the
Josh
short stuff,
Allen's
but
the bigger one though.
yeah, Josh Allen, but I think Mahomes could do either. Like you
Yeah,
do that, short passes, and he could throw the ball deep. He could do both. To be honest,
yeah, but the biggest gunslingers, Brett Favre being one of them.
Marino,
Eli being probably number 3
like
or number
old
2
school.
behind that in that era of just oh, something's open down there. Not even a second thought, and he cost him some games, but guess what? It won him some games too.
Well, that throw to Manningham.
That's a gunslinger throw. Like he knew he could put it in a certain spot, and you believe in your abilities, and that's why Eli, led the league. It's not about he only threw 20 interceptions or he only threw 3 interceptions all year. Yeah, he threw 15. He threw 15 touchdowns. I would rather him throw 35 or 30 and him have 15 interceptions.
Yeah, as long as you're winning, and one of those years he threw 20 something, they won a Super Bowl. So
Yeah,
but that's what you want to see. You want to see some aggressiveness from this offense, especially with someone like Neighbors. They have guys that could stretch the field and also kill you over the middle. Robinson and Neighbors are going to be real effective over the middle. You know, like
I
that's
hate
what I
to
love
hark
about
back.
Neighbors. You can put him anywhere in the slot, on the outside. Like there's so many things you could do with a receiver like that.
I hate to hark back to Eli again, but the 2016 season, he was like a lot aggressive with Odell. He didn't mind throwing it up to a good receiver, his
Oh,
number
they were a
one receiver.
perfect match, both of them. Like him and Odell had
Yeah,
chemistry.
and
Like
listen, be honest with yourself. People who watching, people are like, "Oh, well, Odell won a ring with Stafford." He did, but he was number one on that team.
he wasn't like he was with us. Like
You know what I
he
mean?
was a
Like
monster his rookie year. Like
Eli is the best quarterback that has been with Odell. They match each other so well. You can ask anybody. He has not been the same since he's left New York.
but he's
And
also
we love
torn two
Odell still.
ACLs. He's not, what he once was.
Yes.
That's
So
if he was, he
like
would have
that
been there
Odell
number one.
Beckham, Odell Beckham, swagger is a New York swagger. That's his swagger from here. He ain't had that same swagger when he went to Cleveland or to the Ravens or to LA.
That's what I like
You
about
know,
Neighbors.
he
He's
has
got
it.
a
Yes, he
swagger
has that.
about him, and
Swagger.
a mindset about him, a killer instinct about him, and that's what I like about Neighbors. I think Neighbors are going to get his all, and I think he's going to have a good season. He's the type of
I
weapon
think
you need.
I think we have an okay year, but I think this is Jones' last year. I think they
I
finished
could
out his time.
I can agree with that. I could see that being very realistic.
Even
Um,
if we're 8-9, 7-10,
he would have to have an outstanding season, I think.
yeah, I
He'd have
think
to
there's
be like
about
in the top 10 of quarterbacks in the league, like statistically. Like he'd have
even
to.
then, I don't think it's enough.
I don't know. I know they're paying the most this year, but eventually you're going to have to decide what you're going to do. You're not going to. He's not your long term answer, most likely.
No.
That
But
it
like I said,
would be nice,
the
but I just
team
don't
needs of
see that.
quarterbacks are really low right now. And then go if this year works out the same, I don't think there's going to be many needs for a quarterback besides us and the Raiders.
Yeah,
So one of us is going to get a stud,
the
and
Patriots took one, Washington took one,
yeah,
and the Bears took one. Those three. It seems like they're not going to be needing a quarterback for a little while. At least it seems
Bo
so.
Nix in Denver, they're not going to need one. He usually
I'm
seems like
interested to
he's
see how
fucking
Bo
off.
Nix does. But for us, Daniel Jones performing well, the offensive line performing well. I think if those two things fall into place, I think the passing game will be fine.
Yeah,
It's really about those two. That's obviously the most important. The trenches. Their defense needs to force turnovers like they did last year. I'd love to see that, and then you got to score points off those turnovers. That's why their offense improving is so important. Like I said, I think Shane's put them in a good position to have more success. If you made this roster is better than 2022, without a doubt. So you should be able to be better than you were that season.
and I hold a lot of hope in my
Should.
heart for Dayball calling the plays on offense now.
Yeah,
You know,
I like that Dable's calling plays. I don't mind confident, but I want to see how Dable does it and how he spreads the ball around and how he calls the games. Because remember, we'd be watching the game and be like, "What was that call?" You're like some of the calls didn't really make sense, and I didn't really like the route concepts last year. like a lot of them didn't make sense. With Neighbors, it's different. I think you let Dable run the offense. That seems to be it's his thing, and Kafka, everyone else can help out and just contribute. But I
Yeah.
like that Dable's calling plays. I know he came in here and said he wanted to do like everyone delegate your roles to everybody, but I think he sees the urgency that their offense needs to be better, and I think him taking the reins is fine. I don't mind it at all. Now, if is it going to work?
It takes the
Yeah,
need
is it going to
of
be
Kafka.
effective? Good.
I think it takes the heat off of Kafka because Kafka coming over here, they're like, why is he not head coach? Now you see a reason why his play calling is a little suspect. He's not there yet. What happens when you don't have a Patrick Mahomes to do
Yeah.
everything? What don't what happens when you don't have an Andy Reid type player? And forget who was on the other side of that Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes duo. It was Sean McDermott and the offense coordinator being uh, Brian Daboll and
Yeah.
Josh Allen. So the other side of the coin, you now have somebody who's worked with Mahomes, somebody who's worked with two of the best teams in the league, two
Yep.
of the best quarterbacks in the league. It has to translate somewhere, or you need to
Let's
go get
hope
a
so.
younger quarterback to mold. And I think
Yeah, that's something they
if
would
they
want eventually.
if they do 7-10 this year, like you have value to trade up and maybe get a number one pick. And if you do go with Shador Sanders or Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck, that's the route you're going to want to take.
Yeah, I think that they're not really thinking about that. You want to see how the season goes. But looking for the future, since it's Jones' sixth year, next year would be his seventh. Um, like I said, it's very possible he's not here. But let's see how it goes the first 4 games of the season. It also depends how you lose games. Are you going to be competitive and lose close games, or are you going to get blown out of the water? And that's what happened to
Well,
them
when we
last year.
won
They
in
got blown out.
2022, we won games by a short margin. But people tend to forget about that season. The Giants could have been a lot better than they were.
Yeah, they
Between
let some games slip away.
when we were 7-2, we hit an injury bug. Not a crazy injury bug. We got everybody back before the end of the season, but we went from 7-2 to 7-5 or 7-6.
Yeah,
Like, and it was a month spiral for us that we could have finished, 12-5 realistically.
they could have. They definitely let some games slip away. Without a doubt, that you would have loved to have back. Uh, but you want consistency from Jones, and you want more offense this time. You
Yeah,
want to repeat of 2022, but you want to be way more prolific on offense. You want to
yeah.
average 20 something points a game, at least that, because they averaged 14 last year. So we'll see how it goes week 1. Versus the Minnesota Vikings. I think they got a great shot to be 1-0.
I'm excited, Dan. Dan, I know you're excited. Um,
Absolutely, I'm excited.
I'm pretty sure Stacy's excited.
Yep, absolutely.
So
Yeah, Stacey could be here. She had some stuff to do, but definitely excited to see how they look. Just how they look. Are they going to look like they're lost? Are they going to look like they have everything, organized and together? And like I said, stay healthy. Let's see how this first game goes and see if we can have a better start to the season.
hopefully so. Dan, I don't know much more to talk about. We just got to see what happens next week. See what our starting is going to be. See if anything happens in free agency before the big game Sunday.
See if they make some
I know
moves.
I'm
I really
excited.
don't know, but you're always looking to improve your talent. I think Odell Jackson's a smart signing. Is it amazing? No, but like I said, I think they've rounded out this roster a lot better than the past couple of seasons. And I had to give. I know it's only on paper, but I think Shane's done a hell of a job this offseason, to be honest.
Hell of a job.
You don't like it, as much as you're paying Jones, but I don't care. It seems like you address the offensive line, and then what you do if he's here next year, you do it again next year. You draft more offensive linemen. You keep improving that position group. So, but yeah, we'll be back next week at 8 o'clock on next Friday at 8 p.m. For Big Blue Power Hour, and thank you all for joining us here on the show. And we'll have a full preview of the game, and if they make any other moves, we'll talk about that. We'll have a full preview of the Minnesota Vikings, versus your Giants next week. And let's go Big Blue, and
Let's
let's hope we
go.
could have a win week 1. In about a week here. So
Let's go. 1-0.
everybody have a good weekend, and let's go Giants, and we'll see y'all next week.